And I guess back to Carsonia means they were running another NFL prediction for today. We're doing the Baltimore Ravens. We're starting the AFC North. This white thing down at the bottom will go away. And the Ravens, they surprisingly, statistically, they have the easiest schedule, but I think they might also be the best team in football right now. And I mean, those two things combined are really going to skyrocket this team that has Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Marcus Brownlee, Willie Snead, Mark Andrews just on their offense. And they got Marlon Humphrey on that defense. Earl Thomas himself. It's spectacular. They are Matthew Judon. You cannot pick a fault in this team. I mean, I guess you could say the defensive line isn't absolutely spectacular like the rest of their team, but it isn't bad. It isn't even, it's good. They have a very good defensive line, and then it's just the fact that the rest of their team is so absolutely amazing. So really, you can't pick a fault in this team. So it'd be really hard to see. I mean, look at this. The only hard games they got maybe against Tennessee, Kansas City. I guess all three of their divisional matchups are probably going to be pretty tough. These guys probably have the biggest chance of taking them out. I don't really see any other teams beating them, but of course we're going to have to actually go through and talk about it. So in week 1 at home against Cleveland, they got rid of Kitchens, which was a big problem with their team last year. But also they do have lots of talent, but I don't think in week 1, I mean, you look at Baltimore, I think that defense will be able to shut down, Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, unless they completely, pick it up like they were expected to a few years, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. Then unless they start playing that well, then I don't see them really having a chance of winning, at least in this game, maybe in week 14. But right now in week 1, I'm going to have Baltimore winning this one to get a jump start on the division. And then in week 2, they go to Houston. Now this is a game that I guess could be pretty tough. But without DeAndre Hopkins, their whole offense took a huge hit. He's one of those players that really, when you have him, he really makes your whole offense. But once you lose him, it's like you're lost. So they go into Houston, and I think Baltimore wins this one here. Their crushing defense really probably stops them. And I guess Houston probably score a couple points. They're probably going to keep it a bit close, but I still think Baltimore wins this one. Then in week 3, we have their first really, this is probably like their only contest that really is. This is probably going to have a huge impact on the playoffs down the road. Who's going to get that first seed? Who's going to get that bye week? And I feel like this could be a game that could go either way, of course. But you look at Baltimore, their offense is just so overpowering. Kansas City, don't get me wrong, they have a spectacular defense, but I feel like this will be a very, very high-scoring game, kind of like Chiefs and Rams a few years back. And I feel like Baltimore at home on Monday night can get they have a slight edge in their defense, I'm pretty sure. All right, and then week 4 they go into Washington, and now Washington, I do think they will be a very good team. I think they're going to be a solid team, and they're going to become one of the better teams in the league down the road. But in week 4, I don't think they can handle Baltimore in week 4. And then Cincinnati goes into Baltimore, and in week 5, Joe Burrow, of course, he's been there for 5 weeks. That's a pretty long time. But I still don't think that they have. They're starting to put the pieces together. Their offense, that wide receiver unit, T. Higgins, A.J. Green, is pretty good, but they really need to start getting a defense, and they're doing good work. They're on the right track. And then in week 6, they go into Philly. And Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz, he is a pretty good quarterback. They do have a solid defense. They could put up a fight here, but I still don't think that they're going to beat the Ravens. And then Pittsburgh comes over, and if they play like I've been expecting them to, which is, Big Ben doesn't play that well, and yes, I've got Juju Smith-Schuster or whatever, but if your quarterback is one of the worst, you're not going to be playing very well. And in my opinion, I feel like Baltimore gets the win here. And now they're 7-0. All right. And then they go into Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers coming off of they're coming off a bye week. They come off of a bye week. They go to Phillip Rivers, who now has so many different weapons. I still think they beat them, though. This is another game where I think Indianapolis does have a slight chance to win. There are a lot of games where they have a slight chance to win, but I don't think that they will. like if they play their best, then they might be able to have a chance. All right, and then they go into New England. New England, they're 8-0. Everyone's got a bunch of hype around them, and I think they beat New England kind of. I mean, at this point, they're 9-0. Everyone's going to be scared. I mean, all these teams are going to be scared to play them. I'm sorry. I mean, New England, they have one of the better defenses, but again, they don't have any weapons for Cam Newton. I mean, I guess they got James White, and I mean, their running back room's pretty solid, but I mean, again, Baltimore's defense is probably going to be able to shut them down pretty easily. And then in Week 11, Baltimore against Tennessee comes to Baltimore. It is a rematch. Okay, Baltimore is now 9-0. Tennessee is now on the way to going 10-5. Sorry, either 11-5 or 10-6, depending on what I pick right here. And I'm sorry, but I feel like Baltimore, they have so much momentum. I feel like they can get the win right here, get the rematch, and kind of just say like, hey, we're a very, very amazing team. And then they go into Pittsburgh. Now, these games, they have 3 home games. These are the games that I think probably have a pretty good chance of losing, maybe 1 or 2 of them. But I don't think they're going to lose to Pittsburgh here. Even though they're at home on Thursday, Pittsburgh could put up a win, put up a fight, something like that. But I don't think they will. 11-0. Dallas comes to town again. I don't see Dallas winning. Dallas does have they have an amazing wide receiver unit. Dak Prescott is, I guess, pretty average. And I guess Ezekiel Elliott's one of the better running backs in the league. So their offense they'll probably put up some points. They'll probably make this a bit close, but I still don't see them actually winning. Now they're 12-0, and I feel like they go into Cleveland. Cleveland's got so many weapons. Cleveland's got a pretty solid defense. I feel like Cleveland at home can pull off the first win of the season, even though it probably means nothing looking at how bad I have the rest of their division. And then I don't see them really having a chance of losing those 2 games. And let's take a look. Wait just a second so I can show you what I'm thinking. So they're 14-1 right at this point. Look at all these guys. 13-3, 13-3. No matter what, they have 100% really cemented their they have cemented their place at the top, seeing as so I think that they sit out so they can have 2 full weeks of rest, and I think they let Cincinnati get this win at the end of the season, and they go 14-2. They'll really, really, if they don't throw the game, then 15-1. Easy. All right. Now let's do worst case scenario. And again, this is probably going to be insanely lots of wins. But this is their worst case scenario. Of course, they can lose these 2 games, starting off 1-2. Indianapolis can pull off a win here. Tennessee and Pittsburgh. And that's about it. That's about as low as I'm willing to say that they can possibly go. 9-7 is as bad as the Ravens are going to go. And this is like the complete apocalypse. Their whole team just collapses upon them, basically. Yeah, so. All right, now their best case scenario, after I clear up all this stuff. Their best case scenario, of course. Wait, actually, no, I think they lose this game no matter what. Their best case scenario is 15-1, of course, and their best case scenario is if they don't throw this game. So if they're at the top of their game and they don't throw this game, but also, of course, you got to look. If they win this game, right, and they're 15-0 in Week 16, then they have 100% cemented the fact that they're going to win, because all these teams have at least 3 losses. So that means that they're at least going to have 2. So no matter what, they're going to go 15-1 in my opinion. But I just think that Cleveland's going to get the win here, and I feel like they throw the game here to Cincinnati. So 14-2 is their record. I don't see anyone getting mad at this. I guess maybe you could say that Cincinnati no way is going to win this, but still. So we don't have very many good teams left. I mean, look, we've got 3 bad teams, 2 bad teams, and then we got to do them. But hey, we've only got 1, 2, 3. We've only got 1 week left until I'm done with these predictions, and I get to do my playoff predictions. If you're excited for that, go ahead and subscribe, like the video if you want to see more. Go to playforjuice.com and you can make your own and send them to me via Twitter, Instagram, YouTube comments, Patreon comments. I do have a Patreon. I'm trying to start a podcast. If I get like 5 of those, I will review them. I will sit down and I will look at them and I will review them, and it will give me content and I'll shout you out. Alright, so again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.